I sound like one of those toys where you pull a string and do what makes you happy.
Right.
But really, if you don't like doing what you're doing, you're not going to do it well. The reason this truck turned out the way it did is because I really love doing this stuff. Don't hesitate to build something thinking that you're waiting to build just the right thing. Build something, use it, change it, improve it, tear it out. I did a whole version 1, used it for 8 months, and ripped it all out and started over again because I had vastly underestimated my desire for comfort.
Right.
And so don't just build something.
Totally appropriate.
Yeah. Might get some dates.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie here, out in the desert with a very exciting interview that I'm excited to be bringing to you guys today because Lee I interviewed a couple of years back, and I didn't have a wind muff and I didn't get all of the content on. I had to cut some of it out because of the wind, and I don't even know that we covered as much as I would have certainly liked to have covered. And this video, this first video that I did with Lee, has been one of the more viewed and commented videos of all of the body of uploads that we have. And so when I found out that Lee was here and not only would be willing to give us an updated interview in some of his time, but also catch us up on some of his revisions, I was just over the moon. And so with that, I present to you Lee, and we're going to take a cursory view of his rig as much as he's open to explaining. Normally, I ask people a lot of questions to keep the conversation going, but Lee's rig is so well thought out that there might even be some questions that I don't even think to ask. So I would invite you, Lee, to cover some things. If I don't ask, please go into it. But for those that might be watching this and they're thinking about building out a rig on the road, I've seen a lot of Sprinters, Envoys, Ford Transits, kind of the same type of platform that you have here. I think this is just an excellent example. You started on Vizio, and please just walk us through your thought process and what you have going here.
Okay, well, this is sort of an update. The video that you did 2 years ago covered sort of the floor plan and things like that. I haven't really changed that. I've just added a lot of capability to it. Maybe we can walk around the outside and I'll point out a few things that maybe we didn't cover a couple of years ago. And then we can look inside and I'll talk about a few things that I changed that I think are pretty useful.
Okay, great. Where would you like to start?
Well, since we're in the back of the truck, let's start in the back of the truck.
Here we go.
It's always a good idea to start where you are.
Okay.
I carry this bicycle with me and I put a motor on it. It's got a mid-drive 8-fun Bayfang motor that I have bad knees, so having a motor on a bicycle just means I can get places. I debated whether or not to bring a motorcycle or to bring a motorized bicycle, and I settled on the bicycle just because for things like this it's so much easier. I can carry it on the rack. I don't have to license it or register it or anything like that. I can do all the maintenance myself. And I can, with the big wheels out here on stuff like this, I can go as fast as any dirt bike can. And I got 2 batteries with it, and I charge them off the solar panels. So I don't have to buy fuel, I don't have to buy oil, I don't have to buy insurance or registration or anything. I'm mobile and it's easy.
Did you buy the bike separate and put the kit on, or was it all one thing?
No, I bought the bike in 1999. It's a Cannondale F1000. That's an old bike, but it's still in good shape and it still works fine. And the 8-fun kit is just a simple slide-in. You pull off the chain wheels and you take out the bottom bracket, and the whole kit slides in the bottom bracket and tightens up, and that's it. It uses the same chain, it uses the freewheel in the back and the rear derailleur. You kind of lose the front derailleur, but there's still 9 speeds in the back, and when you got 750 watts helping you, that kind of is all you really need. And it's got the head shock on it, which is not the greatest thing they ever did, but kind of works okay. So yeah, anybody can put one of those on a bicycle. It's a great kit. They're not the cheapest, but they're not the most expensive either.
What was the name of it again?
It's the maker is Bayfang, B-A-F-A-N-G, and the product name is 8-fun. Numeral 8 F-U-N 8-fun.
Okay.
And they have dealers all over the place. I got this from a guy in North Bay, San Francisco North Bay.
Okay.
But they're dead easy to put in, and they're very nice, very integrated, and they work great. Had this almost 2 years. the kit I had on it when I was here 2 years ago died just shortly after I got back. And the carrier, I designed and built this carrier because I had a little bit of trouble in a parking lot. It looked like somebody was going to try to steal one of my boxes. So I decided I needed something more secure. So I designed and built this carrier. It's out of 1/4 inch thick aluminum angle. But the nice thing about it, and then I bought these aluminum boxes, coated them with truck bed liner so they'd be tougher, you know.
Right.
You drive around out here, you get hit with rocks and stuff like that, it'll dent that thin aluminum. But with the truck bed liner on, it's pretty resilient. And they have locks on them. And then I built the carrier so that I can use these bail latches and put padlocks on them. So instead of using straps, they're clamped down using those bail latches, and the whole thing is secure. I can park that thing and not worry, lock it all up and not worry too much that somebody's going to walk away with anything. Now, a dedicated thief can get into anything.
Sure.
This is to discourage the casual vandal.
What would be some things that folks would carry on the outside of their rig where they would need extra space like that?
Oh, I carry a Honda 1000 generator because I have power tools. And if I go somewhere with the power tool, I just take the generator, and then I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about batteries running out and that kind of stuff. And it's more power.
Gas can.
Gas can for the generator. I carry all the tools that I need to fix the bike, and that includes a truing jig, a wheel disher. I carry spoke blanks and a spoke threader, so if I pop a spoke, I can make spokes. Anything that needs to be done on the bike, I've got all the bicycle tools in there. I've got a sort of a work surface that when this comes out, I can put the work surface in the 2-inch receiver and clamp it in, and then I have a stable, solid work surface that I can put a vise on, or the truing jig, or things like that. And of course, the leveling blocks go in there.
Okay.
And on the front, I built a couple of brackets, and I hold 4 traction strips. That occurred to me because those things are just hard to pack.
Right.
You know, they're long and they're knobby, and if you use them, they're dirty. If you need them, people typically put them on the bottom of things, and then you have to pull all your stuff out to get to them.
Right.
But those clamped on there like that with just a couple of wing nuts, I can get to them anytime I need them. And when I'm done with them, I just put them back on there, and I don't worry if they're muddy or snowy or anything.
Have you used them yet?
I have not had to use them, but
okay.
I'm not challenging the universe either.
Okay. Okay. But you have them.
But I have them just in case.
Let's talk a little bit about your tires, if you don't mind.
These are the all-terrain TAs, the BF Goodrich all-terrain TAs.
Yeah.
The truck came with the Transforce tires, which are good tires, and they're great mileage. But I was a little worried, you know, people think of the desert as being sand. It's not. It's all this hard, sharp, volcanic rock.
Right.
And you know, when I took those tires off after 3 years, there were scars on the shoulder where they'd been cut by this stuff. And
right.
Fortunately, I never got a flat. But when it came time to put some new tires on, I put these all-terrain TAs on because they got this big armored shoulder. The tread is really thick. The tread is deep, and they got these big armored shoulders and double thick sidewalls.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a 3-ply poly sidewall for sidewall penetrations. These were inspired by Baja racing tires, BF Goodrich.
Yeah.
With these KO2s, and so I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah.
I had sidewall penetrations for the first couple of years, and so then I went to the BF Goodrich, and I haven't had a problem since.
Yeah. When it came time to replace them, this is what I went to. I did lose about almost a mile per gallon on the mileage, but now I don't worry when I drive around this kind of stuff.
Right.
The truck is wired for 30 amp service and shore water.
So you just did this yourself. You bought this truck off the lot. It was it wasn't a vehicle that was built to be lived in from the factory.
No. This was just a commercial truck.
Okay.
Since it was the first year, I had to look around to find one with the towing package because I wanted the factory towing package.
Right.
With the factory towing package, and well, this is the 3500, so it's got the big V8 in it. This will tow 9,500 pounds, and I plan to tow a 30-foot trailer with this.
Okay.
And I have towed the trailer. I was on the freeway with the cruise control set, and I forgot I had a trailer behind me.
Sure.
This thing weighs over 7,200 pounds or something when I got it loaded. So the trailer just follows along, you know, and yeah. So stuck a bull bar on the front because I travel early in the morning and late at night, and I'm up in the Sierras. And you know, sooner or later, I haven't had to do it, but sooner or later a deer is going to come out, and I'm not going to lose my front end because of that. So, yeah, I like it in there too, huh?
Is she okay in there?
Yeah.
I can have her come out.
I like it in there too. It's a good place. I changed, there's a bunch of stuff I changed. I don't know, I can't remember how much of this stuff I had in here.
Mind if I come and sit down in the passenger seat?
Please do,
So
yeah.
to begin with, we just come in and there's a passenger seat turned around, which opens up more space I'm going to sit in. And this really looks like something that was built from the factory. Where would you like to start?
Well, good question. Well, we can start right next. Well, yeah, we can start right next to you.
Okay.
You're sitting next to the porta potty and probably don't know it.
Okay.
It's built into the center console. You could stand up and.
Is this it right here that
she's,
Savannah's on?
She's standing on it.
Okay.
So the porta potty's built into the center console.
Okay.
So it's easy to get to, and I don't have to slide it in and slide it out. And
Right.
it's space that the stock center console was just a big waste of space. There was a whole lot of empty plastic. So I took it out and I built this custom to fit in there. It's got space in the front to store things for driving. It's got a locking drawer on the bottom that I put tools in. And then it stores the porta potty.
So you bought is it a Thetford?
Yes.
So you bought a Thetford porta potty, and then what did you take plywood and vinyl fabric and fasten the fabric to the plywood and make a box like this? How would somebody's going to be looking at this going, what the heck, how did they make it look like this?
Right. Well, everything in the truck is built out of either solid birch or aircraft grade birch plywood.
Okay.
And I chose that because it's light and it's strong. Birch is a great wood to work with. It's almost as light as pine, but much, much harder. It's not nearly as expensive as oak or something like that, and it's a lot lighter. So birch is a great choice, I think, for something like this. It takes an edge very well. It holds screws really good. And the aircraft grade birch plywood is strong as steel. It's amazing stuff.
Can you get it at Home Depot?
I got it at Bruce Bauer Lumber in Mountain View, but in Los Altos, I think. But you can get it at any lumberyard. I'm not sure you can get it at Home Depot.
Okay.
It's not specialty, but it's not, just junk grade plywood either.
Right.
So you might have to look for it. On the other hand, you don't have to build it out of that either. I just chose to do it. It's like twice as expensive as, maybe at least twice as expensive as regular plywood. But there's not that much in here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the actual raw material that makes this up, there's not that much material. It's a lot of space inside the material, but the actual wood there's not that much. The face of all these drawers is solid birch. The solid birch, because I had to get good stuff that wasn't warped. It was a little more expensive, but you're going to build it once and then it's going to last forever. The birch with this is so people look at this and don't understand because it looks like plastic or it looks like metal.
Right.
This is all birch and birch plywood, but it's coated with a Kelly Moore Durapoxy, which is a paintable epoxy.
Okay.
It takes 3 or 4 days to really, really harden up, but once it does, it's great stuff. It's repairable. You wash it down with a wet rag. I used a high nap roller to put sort of the textured finish on it so it kind of matched the plastic. It's color matchable, so the two colors, the dark gray and the light gray, kind of match the light gray and the dark gray in the truck, because I took pieces of material in and they color matched to the truck. So my thought was to follow the color scheme of the truck as
Right.
opposed to build with wood or something like that. And by coating it with several coats of the epoxy, it really seals the wood. The first coat sinks in, the second coat kind of fills it, and then the third coat gives it the texture. And this is 4 years, and this stuff hasn't twisted or warped or anything. So it was a good technique. But so the center console is built out of birch and birch plywood.
Okay.
The cover there is just, I bought vinyl that kind of matched the color. This is vinyl, that same vinyl. And I have a sewing machine, so I sewed all the stuff in here too. That's a leftover from when I did little British car restorations, and I did the upholstery myself.
Oh, so you come from a background of working with upholstery.
Well, doing the upholstery for the car anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. And So the design is just kind of how much space do you have, how do you interface it to the truck. There's 6 bolts all on different planes, so I had to build up the surface, and that's pretty much how I did all of it. I built up the interface surface. So I start with just a flat or a 3D interface surface that will bolt to the existing bolts. And then I bring that out, and then I build off of that.
Okay.
So then I know when it's all done, it's just going to go and bolt in, and if I want to change it, I can just unbolt it and change it and put something else in there. And so the design was done pretty much in my head, and then I put it in Visio to get the exact dimensions, then I make a cut sheet, then I cut the pieces, then it all goes together like a kit. And so that's just plywood and some foam and some vinyl. The screw covers are just regular, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's just an automotive trim company.
Okay.
And it's not really that much of a deal. The actual construction is pretty straightforward, although, it is foam sealed and lipped, so you can't smell it because, the porta potty smells, and I don't want to have to do that. So
right.
It's sealed in there, and it's also built up about 8 inches off the ground, so it's easier for me because a small porta potty like that sits 13 inches off the ground, and it's a pretty far squat for me.
So moving on to the, most people that were looking to maybe build out a van might see all of these switches and fans and plugs and become super intimidated about taking something like this on. Can you walk us through what these switches do and why you set it up this way and why you decided to go this route?
Well, version 1 had 4 switches.
Okay.
This version has 12. And so I just added things as I decided to do stuff. There's a lot of automation in the truck that just kind of takes care of itself. And that's, I have an electrical engineering background, so maybe that's a plus or a minus. But most of them are just pretty straightforward. The cabin lights turn on and off. I did all the switches and the controls here because it's close. It minimized the wiring in the truck. The batteries, the inverter, the power center. The truck's wired for 30 amps, but all the 12-volt circuits come through here. They're all identified and they're all fused. So by putting all the switches in a lot of the connections right here, I minimized how much wire I had to run, and it made it easy to get from here to there, and I didn't have to run it all over the truck. So building the truck, the layout the way it is, this whole wall, the truck didn't have side windows. I had these side windows, they're C.R. Lawrence windows put on this side, but this side has no windows. So I had that whole side to build floor to ceiling with utility stuff, with useful stuff. And that made it easy because all the plumbing could run there, all the wiring could run there, and I didn't have to be crossing back and forth over the vehicle for a lot of things. So, it's basically all the switches except one are here. If you look at the cabin lights, it looks like there's one light that's not on.
Yeah.
But that's actually my last on, first off light.
Okay.
Or last off, first on, whatever. The switch for that's over by the head of the bed. So I can turn that on at night, turn everything else off, and I still have light to get around because it's pretty dark in here when I button everything up.
Right.
And then when I go to bed, I can just turn that light off, and then I can turn it on again, and I don't get my eyeballs blasted out by all the lights.
Right.
So
this is a very well thought out lighting system.
Well, but that's, decide what you want to do. Decide how you like to do it. Decide what you can do, what you can build, what you can design, and given all your constraints, to make that happen. And thinking about that, think about, first of all, how are you going to use it? Having a light if you're in a home, you typically have a light on a bedside or something like that. Mm-hmm. Well, in a van, you're not going to have that, so you have to have a switch for a light so you can turn it on and off from the bed. So you think about how are you going to use it, then think about how are you going to maintain it. Do you have to change the lights? Do you have to keep it clean? How are you going to repair it if it breaks? How are you going to modify it? Because after you use it for a little while, you're going to think of things you want to do. And then eventually, how do you replace it? And if you think about all those things, then that makes the design really fit your life and work for you. That's pretty much how I started everything in here. So let's talk about the Galley cabinets.
Okay, I'll stand up and get a better vantage point on that.
So the Galley cabinets, let me turn these on. I'm tall. And as you can see, I don't have a heck of a lot of clearance between the top of my head and this truck, but I can stand up straight. It's just enough. It doesn't matter to me whether I have, 6 feet or 0.6 inches. As long as I clear it, I'm fine.
Right.
But a lot of Galley cabinets that you see in commercial units, they'll open out or they'll open up. Mm-hmm. If they open out, it's kind of a hassle because you got to get around them. If they open up, that's hard for me because they typically are right at my eye level.
Right.
So when I built this, I built the top shelf to be open and my dry goods and stuff in clear plastic jugs so I can see what I have and I can get to them easily. I don't have to open a door. And this is stuff I get to all the time.
Right.
6 different kinds of tea, and then to hold all the Galley equipment, instead of making doors that open out, I made the door open down, and it has a soft down hinge on it. But this way, I get a second work surface. So if I need to get into something, I can move it out of the way and get what I want, and then put things back. And I don't have to use counter space, because counter space was kind of important for me. I have a 30-foot trailer that I'm working on, that I'm converting into sort of a mobile workshop. This van has more workable counter space than my 30-foot trailer does.
Okay.
And I like that because then I can fix meals, I can take care of stuff. Counter space and being able to fix meals is that's one of the things that you have to do that I have to do to be happy on the road. I use an induction cooktop.
What's induction mean for those that are not sure what that term?
Magnetic induction is the process by which you run an electrical current through one conductor, and if you put another conductor within the magnetic field, it induces a current in the other conductor. That's how transformers work. What an induction cooktop does is it runs off electricity, it induces a moving magnetic field from the coil, which then induces a magnetic field you have to have a ferromagnetic pan. You can't use aluminum. It has to be either a steel pan or a cast iron pan, or in my case an aluminum pan with a steel insert that makes it work with the induction cooktop. And a propane stove has fire that heats the air, that then heats the pan, that then heats the food.
Right.
And somebody said earlier that something like half or more of the heat just goes into the atmosphere, and it's pretty inefficient. With an induction cooktop, the cooktop doesn't heat up. It induces a circulating current in the pan itself, which makes the pan heat up.
Right.
The actual pan heats up, not this top. It's the pan that heats up, and so it heats up almost instantly because it's digital. It maintains that temperature. I like to make omelets. An omelet on this is dead easy. An omelet on a propane stove was always difficult for me to get the low flame just right because it would go out or it would be too high.
Right.
With this, it's the number 2 setting for omelets. Perfect. And then it turns off. I don't have to buy propane. It runs off my inverter. With the solar panels I have and the batteries I have, it's no problem. Usually for breakfast, it'll cost me 20 to 24 ampere hours. And then lunch will be maybe 12 to 18 ampere hours. So my total load is less than 40 to 50 ampere with the refrigerator and everything, maybe 50 ampere hours a day. The panels can do that in 2 hours.
Okay, so, does it take any special skills to install one of these? Where would somebody that might want to try to install one of these in their own rig get it?
Well, you don't really have to install it. This is actually a portable, this is a desktop unit. This is a countertop unit.
Okay.
It's meant to go on a countertop, but it also has a lipper on it so it can be installed. I just dropped it down into the countertop so I could have sort of the surface that I could use as a work surface when I'm not cooking on it.
Okay.
I did raise it 1/8 of an inch so that it wouldn't get liquid on it and things like that. But I chose to build this into the countertop just because I could. And to do that, you just use a frame and a router and you make a little lip and you drop it in. And it's in there with some silicone.
Are we just going in with a positive and a negative from the battery, from the house battery?
No, this runs on AC.
Oh, it's
so
AC.
It runs
okay.
through the inverter.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm noticing you've got a temperature gauge and a time clock here. That's I'm guessing in time inside temperature and outside temperature.
Right.
And 24-hour inside and outside temperatures if you'd like.
Right.
Okay.
So it keeps min and max. And right now they're reading the same because the inside sensor is in this. The outside, what I use for an outside sensor is in a little pouch over there.
Okay.
Everything has a storage place. So that's the sensor that I hang outside, and it just lives right there when it's not hanging outside.
Oh, okay.
About a year ago, I installed a television so that I could, watch the news when I eat and things like that. It's just a 12-volt television, not very big, but I do have a digital video recorder and a hard drive that it records to, so I can record TV programs if I want to.
Okay.
It's just for the Galley, there's obviously a utility drawer, okay, and all the stuff that you need, knives and forks and spoons and all of that stuff like that. And then, storage for food and canned goods and things like that. And it's sort of, should mention that I designed this truck for a solo traveler. So I travel alone. It's designed for one person. And so anybody who looks at it and says, well, I want to change this for 2 people, please do. But this design was for one person. And
right.
So I can sit here on the corner of the bed and I have a pull-out table. So I can fix food and put it up there, and then I have a sort of the appropriate height surface to eat food off of. I can watch the TV, I can read a book. And this also serves duty as my desktop when I'm working on the computer. And the computer is stored inside.
Okay.
So it's a foam-lined enclosure for the computer. Computers are fragile, you got to take care of them, and they're kind of an odd size, and where do you store it? So I just decided to store it inside the table. And then all the cords and stuff like that are available for when I need them. And then when I'm not using it anymore, it just stores in there and goes away, and it's safe and secure. And
absolutely, it's a great idea.
in the back of the truck is a wardrobe where I have all the toiletries built onto the door, so I have a mirror and all the storage and everything with,
Have you, how do you shower if it's cold out? You shower inside?
Well, there's two things. I typically every morning in the wintertime anyway, because I'm not doing much. In the wintertime, I'll just take a basin bath.
Okay.
I'll fill the basin up with hot water and put some lemon in it, and I'll just wash down with that inside.
Okay.
Because I turn the heat on in the morning, it warms up, I get out of bed and I wash down, and then I get dressed. And there is a shower in the back, and I can't show it to you right now because I'm all loaded up there and we can't open the door. But there's a shower in the back, and this is a shower enclosure that when I open the doors up, there's a bar that goes between, and this is a complete enclosure for the back.
Okay.
It goes, there's Velcro all the way around the door. It Velcros around the door, goes all the way to the ground. I use a Seagear mat on the ground, and I take a shower back there. Now, when it's cold, my furnace is a Propex furnace, so it's a forced hot air furnace.
Okay.
It pulls combustion air in from the outside, burns it, and then exhausts at the outside. So there's no propane being burned inside. It just takes air in through a filter and then heats it and puts it back into the cabin.
And that's Propex.
That's Propex HS2211 or something like that.
Okay.
But the outlet has a rotatable air director on it. So right now it's making so it blows air up this way, but I can turn it around so it blows air into the back, and I have a heated shower enclosure when it's cold outside. So I can take a hot shower in a fully private enclosure, heated. I have showered when it was 40 degrees outside, and I'm not saying it was, the most wonderful thing, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay, right.
Because I'm completely out of the wind, and I got heat back there.
So, Savannah, are you okay? I'm trying to get her off the bed, and she thinks I'm playing.
There's something about that bed that she likes.
Yeah. So you've got a great bed here that's super long. What did you use for a mattress? If folks are going, man, how do I be comfortable in a van?
Right. So I'm almost 6'4", and I like to be able to stretch out. I sleep on my back. This is a half queen. So it's 30 by 80, half queen, which means I can buy fitted sheets for it. And the mattress itself is a standard size mattress. This is I think it's called a Road Premier Tucker or something or other. I don't know. I got it on Amazon, like almost everything else in here. It's 8.5 inches thick. It's 3 layers of foam plus a pillow top. This is about the most comfortable thing I've ever slept on in my life. and I started out with a 4-inch foam pad that went right through. This is my 3rd iteration, and I spent the bucks to get a good mattress, and I'm happy because this thing is just really, really nice to sleep on. And I would just recommend to people, just go big first. Buy the right one first, and because you'll just waste money on the other ones, because you won't be happy sleeping if you're not comfortable. The bedding is up here like in an open enclosure. By the way, this is just paracord that's strung under tension through holes in the edge of this. It's a nice, lightweight, easy way to keep things in place. It's not stretch, it is paracord, but it's under tension, so it holds things in, and it allows the bedding to breathe, the pillow to breathe, and the quilts to breathe, and stuff like that.
Right.
So if you take bedding and put it in a closed cabinet, it's going to get a little iffy after a while.
Gotcha.
So I leave that open, and then this is just another open down, and I use these Eagle Creek packing cubes.
Okay.
Because you can put a lot in them, and they stay in place. And this is what's called a half cube. It looks like it's about to explode. The reason is because it has an extra large, thick wool sweater in it, in that little cube. Now this would take twice that space to pack if it wasn't in that cube.
Right.
But you put it in the cube, it stays clean, it stays in place, and so I love these packing cubes. They're a great solution, and this cabinet was actually built to be the right size to take these packing cubes.
Okay, so you built that part out in Visio.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the dimensions for it, I mean, there's nothing constraining this dimension other than, I don't want it to be too encroaching on the open space.
Right.
But this dimension was actually built so that it would take these packing cubes, because they're a great solution.
Excellent.
The window is an odd size window. It's big in the front, narrow in the back. It's all curves and stuff like that. So I just put an inside frame around it and put these mini blinds in there, and so the mini blinds let me completely block visibility or open it up. And one of the nice things is at night I close the blinds, and then a lot of the conversions that you see, these upper panels on the doors, they'll just put upholstery up there or something like that.
Yes.
I put storage on there because every surface has to have a purpose.
Sure.
And this one holds this piece, which I made, which is a 6-layer insulated cover that snaps over this window.
Okay.
And it makes a complete light block, sound insulation, and thermal insulation. So when I'm sleeping and that's snapped in place, I don't get cold from the window. And that's sort of the wintertime setup. In the summer, when it's nice and warm, I just close it like that. And in the morning when I wake up, I usually try to park with the back of the truck south because the panels tilt.
Right.
Which means this window faces east, which means I can wake up and open this and watch the sunrise.
And you get the first sun. Yeah, that's great. How many watts are we talking on the roof?
It's 400. There's 4 100-watt panels wired in series into the Renogy. I love Renogy. Big shout out for Renogy. Great people, great systems. 4 Renogy Eclipse panels on the roof, wired in series down to a Renogy 40 amp MPPT controller, going into 430 ampere hours of AGM batteries.
Okay. And was there a specific reason you chose the AGM battery?
I've been using, they're Odyssey batteries.
Okay.
People, talking batteries is like talking politics. Everybody thinks something different. And you know, the standard for RVs is Trojans or something like that. I chose the Odysseys because they have a particular battery, the PC 1800 FT, that's made for marine yachts and things like that. It's a deep cycle battery, and it's got huge plates on it. There's no current inrush. It's a great battery, but the form factor, there's 215 ampere hours. It's 5 inches wide, 12 inches high, and about 20 inches long. And there's 2 of those in the back of this cabinet with an inverter in front of them. And that's 430 ampere hours at 12 volts in the space in 10 inches by 20 inches by 12 inches. That's a lot of power in that amount of space. And they've been running in there for 4 years. And I expect to get another 4 or 5 out of them. So they last a long time. They do the job. You do want to put them on a charger about once a month or so and let them really get a good current kick. But
okay,
this system, because it's the MPPT system, this system will put out over 30 amps, and that's a pretty good slug of current going into a set of batteries. I guess it's not much for 430 ampere hours, but everybody's got their own opinion on batteries.
Sure. How about the inverter? Let's talk about that. Is it a modified sine wave, pure sine wave? How many watts?
Right. I started with, you know, this is actually interesting because you and I talked 2 years ago. Right. And although the truck looks almost the same, almost everything has changed. You know, this was different 2 years ago. I had a different inverter in there 2 years ago. 2 years ago I had a modified sine wave inverter in there. And it worked fine for just about everything, except it made the induction cooktop buzz. Okay. The induction cooktop worked, but it buzzed. And that's irritating. So I took that one out and I put the one in here right now is an Ames 2000 watt pure sine wave.
2000 watt peak or continuous?
It's 2000 continuous. Okay. And it's got I think a 100 amp charger in it too. So it's an inverter charger, both. It's, I don't know, it's about 8 inches by about 7 inches by about 20 inches. And okay. It fits right in there, just real perfect. And the nice thing is they all come with with a remote panel. So I'm actually going to be changing that. I bought their fancy LCD control panel, and I'm going to have to remake that so that it fits that. I've remade that control panel half a dozen times since I started.
And I would guess that we're just in the middle of how many times it's going to be changed.
I'm guessing too.
Yeah, I'd like for people to be able to see this checklist because I've never seen a checklist so well thought out, much less made into a little plate.
Well, the labels, we should talk for a moment about the labels. Okay. These labels, I make these labels myself. There's a product called Teslin synthetic paper, Teslin. Okay. It's a synthetic paper. You can print it on an inkjet printer. I laid these things out with Microsoft Publisher and printed them with an inkjet printer on Teslin paper, and then I used 5mm matte finish heat seal, put them through a heat sealer, and when you put Teslin through a heat sealer, it literally bonds. It becomes one piece of plastic. Okay. And that's what these are. They won't separate. They're completely waterproof, and you can use any design you want. I scanned some of this material, color corrected it, and put it as the background for the labels. So I carried the sort of digicam thing through to the labels, and I've changed this checklist another half dozen times because I changed the equipment I have. Right. And but these labels, the labels on the doors, serve another purpose too, because this plastic is it's almost indestructible. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was here and back over here. So that's just sort of a branding label. So why do you have that back there? Well, this is where when I open this up, when I close it, I always push it there. And eventually I'm going to wear through that paint if I keep doing that. So by putting these there, that's the wear point. So when I open the door up and I push it closed, I'm always pushing on that plastic label. These things are very, very tough. And if I do wear one out, I print up another one.
You print up another one. I can tell you, it's occurring to me more abundantly as we run through this that if you were ever separated from this vehicle and the local officials ever found this vehicle and searched it, I don't think there's any way possible they would think that it was homemade. I just don't think that they would think this. Somebody came up with this. There's another label right here. We've got. They would say, "Who makes this? Who's this?" Godigan, pronounce that for us.
Gedigenwagen.
Gedigenwagen.
Gedigenwagen. It's Old English. Gedigen is a word that means survival was harder back then. It's a word that we don't have a single word for in English, but it was a concept that you are confronted with very difficult situation and you not only survive, but you thrive. So it's the idea of going into a difficult place and not just getting by, but doing well. And that's what this whole truck was built for, was to go out in the middle of nowhere and be completely comfortable. There's nothing that I would do in an apartment or a house that I can't do in here. I got up yesterday morning, I fixed a ham and Havarti cheese and 5 mixed black pepper omelet for breakfast.
Right.
And, you know, there's hardly anything that I could do. I have a refrigerator, I have a freezer, I have, you know, cookware, I have...
Who makes the refrigerator and freezer?
Both the refrigerator and freezer are Engel.
Okay, these are Engel, so that's a brand that you typically don't see with a side door, out here anyway. But Engel is about the highest end
they're
fridge freezer that you can get that runs on solar.
So, well, yeah, and it's an AC/DC. So when I'm plugged in, it automatically switches over to AC, which I hardly ever am.
Right.
And their freezer is a top-loading freezer, and I'm gonna have you just move back here for a second to show you some of the freezer itself is a top-loading freezer, and it's on a slide, so it comes out, and you know, it's just a regular top-loading freezer. It's not all that big, but you know, I carry stuff, and it's a refrigerator freezer because it depends on how high you turn it as the weather is. Right now it's set on 1, and it's a great refrigerator. If I set this thing up to 3, it'll freeze things rock hard. If I set it to 5, you'll never thaw them out. Well, that's an exaggeration.
Use it as a hammer.
So you know it's nice because it's real flexible, and stuff in here, I put big stuff in here, stuff that takes a lot of vertical space. And I sewed another sort of insulating blanket around it to help it stay cooler.
Absolutely.
And I put this pad on the top because it's also my work alarm here.
So you can use it to chill, and I'm sure the TV turns. It's on a swivel.
The TV, pull it out.
Oh, it's got a total articulating arm. There you go.
Articulated, so I can watch it over here. I can watch it in bed. I can watch it while I'm eating, and being able to sit back and relax and put your feet up, read a book, watch a movie. Little side table here for. I carry a popcorn maker with me, so I can make some popcorn and watch a movie. And
so I'd like to talk a little bit about you. When we've covered everything you'd like to discuss in your rig, so just let me know when that is.
Yeah, we're pretty much, you know, get into hooks. Yeah, got to have hooks. Hooks everywhere. Hooks that pop down.
Yep.
Because you know, if you got a space, put a hook on it because you'll use it.
Absolutely, I agree.
Just
yeah, that's been my experience.
For water, I use 7-gallon aquatainers, and I carry 42 gallons of water, and 4 of them are stored. So the bed surface has easy up gas shocks, and I store 4 of these aquatainers in there that are sort of, they're there right over the rear axle. They offset some of the weight on this side, so the truck is nice and balanced. Side, and it gives me a good place to put them because I like the aquatainers because every time I empty one, it's not completely empty. This one's empty. This is my popcorn maker. Everybody has to have a popcorn maker.
Absolutely.
So this one is empty, but it's not completely empty. You can get a little bit of water in there.
Right.
What I do is when they get empty like that, I leave some water in there and I put 2, 3, 4 drops of bleach in there. And it just sanitizes it while I drive. And then when I get somewhere to fill it up, I just empty it out, rinse it, and I got a nice, clean, sanitized water container. So every time I empty it.
Are we talking about 2 or 3 drops of your garden variety Clorox bleach with no unscented?
Just unscented, you know, just plain Clorox, or that's the brand name, but just plain bleach.
Okay.
Because Then you rinse it. Obviously, you rinse it out. There's not much bleach in there, but since it rolls around a whole lot and stuff like that,
Right.
Every time I empty one of these, it gets sanitized.
Absolutely.
Now, if I put a great big tank in, they're kind of hard. You got to empty them out completely, then you got to sanitize them, then you got to rinse them. An RV tank is a lot of work to take care of. This is a whole lot easier. Full, this is 56 pounds, so I can take it, fill it up, carry it back. If I'm at a campsite with some people, I can take this out, stick it on the picnic table, and other people have water to work with. They don't have to come in here to get it.
Sure.
So the whole truck was kind of about flexibility, and this is just part of that. And I was going to talk a little bit about, well, I mean, I could talk about the construction techniques and things like that, like how I put the ceiling up and how I put the insulation up. But I'm going to put short videos of all the construction techniques. I've had a lot of, your video generated a lot of emails and questions.
Sure.
And I tried to answer them all, but what I'm doing is I'm working with some people to get some videos made. Those of you who have subscribed to my channel on YouTube, I apologize for not having them up yet. I've had 3 people promise to help me, and now I'm just going to do it myself. But I'm going to put videos up of how I constructed things, because I've got photos, step-by-step photos along the way. This video is a great overview of the finished product. If people are interested in the specifics of how things got built, I've got step-by-step photos of how I built things like that. And so the videos I'm going to try to post are more about how to build what I built. Not that you're going to build exactly what I build. Everybody should build what is going to work for them. But some of the construction techniques and some of the finishing techniques, I'm going to put some videos up about that. Because I've had a lot of questions, and I really want to answer people, and I want to help people build vans, because this is great.
Well, I know that this, as I started out by saying, this last interview generated a lot of interest, as I'm sure this one's going to. You're of retirement age. Where do you go from here? You're going to go back and get your trailer and travel about the North America, and I mean, tell us about that.
I'm 67. I have retired, and yeah, we talked about this. I built this to be sort of the excursion vehicle, and it also tows a lot. It'll tow 9,500 pounds. So I have a 30-foot trailer that I bought, bunkhouse model. I pulled the bunks out, and that whole back area is going to be tool storage and part storage. The pull-out sofa I pulled out, and I built a computer workstation in there. And the trailer is going to be kind of my base camp. I'll do my traveling and enjoying in this,
right,
and then I can pull the trailer from sort of area to area and then use this to go explore. But the trailer will have all the tools that I use to build this van. And my hope is that I'll find some people that want to work on their van and maybe don't mind me helping them. This is what I do. I design things, I fabricate things, I build things. That's my happy place. I don't like to golf, I don't like to fish. I like to design, and I like to fabricate, and I like to build. And this has been a great project. Now it's iterated several times. Details have been added. It turned out pretty well. Everything works really well. But there are other changes. I got a list of more than a dozen things to do when I get back to my tools. And so it's an ongoing improvement. But there's only so much I can do to this. I need somebody else's van to work with.
Well,
so.
there's only so much you can also do, even with, a line out the door of folks that want to, tap into your knowledge too. So we want to make sure that you get your free time too, and you're able to recharge.
Sure. I have no interest, well, maybe no interest isn't the right word. I have little interest in going into the business of building vans.
Right.
I've done my business years. I've been asked several times to build this for somebody. I had a guy follow me into a supermarket and tell me he'd pay me $100,000 to build one of these for him. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But my direction is a little bit different. I'm not wealthy, but I have a little bit of money coming in. I'm not an exorbitant guy. I can offer my knowledge and my skills to people who maybe wouldn't have access to that. normally. And that works for me. I've had people help me in my life who made huge differences in my life. And now is the time I can do that for somebody else.
I won't hold you to it. Life or death holds you to it, but having the van build in November in Lake Havasu, could we count on you being there?
That's in the plan right now.
That would be amazing. So, any last words? Your YouTube channel, do you want to give that out?
I have a YouTube channel. I have a tiny URL for it, www.tinyurl.com/Gedigan, Gedigan,
which is right. Let's see, right there. And so we'll get that link up in the bottom to go to.
And I'll be bouncing people back to your channel to see all kinds of the other stuff that you're doing, because I love your videos.
Thanks, man.
And mine is going to be about the details. My hope is that people don't look at this. I don't want people to look at this and think of it as some kind of outlier or anomaly. I want them to just think about this is what somebody can do if they put some time and effort into it. And every time I show somebody this, they walk away with an idea that they want to try in their van. That makes me feel good. This is my enjoyment. And some of the ideas are unique. Some of the ideas I've taken from things I've seen. But if somebody looks at this and sees an idea and goes and makes their life in their van better, that's a good thing.
Can we have you back as the progress continues?
Absolutely.
And the builds continue?
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks a lot for giving us a second, a little bit more in-depth tour without the wind noise. Any last words?
No, just if you're thinking about doing this and you think it's something you want to do, give it a try. I'm not going to tell people to do anything. Do what you feel good doing. Do what makes you happy. I sound like one of those toys that you pull a string and do what makes you happy.
Right.
But really, if you don't like doing what you're doing, you're not going to do it well. The reason this truck turned out the way it did is because I really love doing this stuff. And when you love doing something, you do it a lot. When you do it a lot, you get good at it. And that's what you do. So go out there, build things, get your van going. I would suggest two things. Don't hesitate to build something thinking that you're waiting to build just the right thing. Build something, use it, change it, improve it, tear it out. I did a whole version 1, used it for 8 months, and ripped it all out and started over again because I had vastly underestimated my desire for comfort.
Right.
And so don't just build something. My first build on this was just junk plywood that I screwed together. It was sort of this basic layout. It didn't have all the good stuff in it, but I put it there so that I could get out in it and do it. And every time something made me unhappy, I made a list. And when I did the new design, I covered all of those things that made me unhappy. And that's what you do. So get started, build something. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter whether it's the perfect thing or not, because I can guarantee you that what's perfect today will be something you want to change in 6 months.
Yeah, I can second that.
So think about what you want to do. Think about how you want to do it. Design something to help you do that. And when you design it, think about how you're going to use it, how you're going to maintain it, how you're going to repair it, how you're going to modify it, and how you're going to replace it. Because you will. So don't build it in hard and think that's the way it's going to be forever, because you will learn, you will grow, and you will change things. So just think about that from the start. Build things modular if you can. Keep in mind that you're going to be modifying things, changing things. Just build it and use it and enjoy it. That's all. That's
outstanding. Great words of wisdom. Great rig. It's been fun catching up a second time around. Let's go have our last blowout.